Hi everybody, it's Claire with a project for ScrapFX design team. So again, I'm playing in the junk journal and just adding some colours straight onto the page. So there's no gesso on this background at all. So I'm starting off with rainbow colours, as is something I like to do. So starting off with ruby and tangerine, I'm using Dina Wakley media paints mostly. Also using lemon, you can see it's running out. So it's always a good idea to take the lid off and have a good poke around inside because there's often more paint hiding inside than you realise. Next I'm using lime. Then I think I used turquoise. Yeah, I love using turquoise instead of sky. I don't know, it's just that turquoise blue is one of my favourites. And then I'm using magenta. And finally I will use some blackberry just for a little pop of dark rich colour. So I'm kind of just going with where feels right for these paints and just trying to make sure that the page is reasonably balanced. So then I'm using this number collage stencil from ScrapFX and some heather paint rather than white at this stage. I'm just using some nice pastel colours initially through the stencil. I'm going to add 3 areas of stenciling onto the page just to start to add some interest onto the background. I love how the stenciling looks over the bright vibrant colours that we've put down first. You just get little hints of them peeping through the stenciling. It's really pretty. So then I'm using a permanent red violet light from Amsterdam Acrylic, and I'm using it through this noodle stencil, which is also from ScrapFX. So I'm just building up some layers of interest using the different stencils. I'm overlapping them, and I'm just sort of, my plan is to fill the background over the top of the background that I've painted, adding lots of stenciling in there. So this is the stonework stencil from ScrapFX, and I'm using this with turquoise. So you can see I've added loads of stenciling. So then this is a collage paper that I've designed for ScrapFX, and it's called Heart Girl. So I'm just cutting out the girl's face and just having to decide where I was going to put her. So initially I popped her on this left hand side, but then didn't really like it there. Didn't feel, I don't know, it just didn't feel like it was right. So because it was still wet, I could peel it off really carefully, as you'll see, and I decided that I wanted it to be in the middle of the page. So while I'm creating this page, it will look a little bit distorted because of the fold on the piece of paper that I'm journaling onto, but she didn't look wonky by the time it was all finished. It was all good. So once that was nice and dry, I'm then starting to add some stamping. So these are the negative number stamps from ScrapFX, super cool. And I'm using a StazOn ink in a fuchsia pink colour. So I'm just adding some different stamping onto the background. This is the 9 dots stamp, using that with this lovely bright green ink, which is also from StazOn ink. So next, once that was all nice and dry, I then start adding some of the other collage elements from the page onto my journal page. I've just cut out some of the hearts and some of the little doodled circles on there as well. So these were from some stamps that I made myself, and they do make quite a nice addition to the page. So I'm sticking these in place using some gel medium. It makes them go down really lovely, stick really, really nicely. So then I'm using Dina Wakley scribble sticks. I'm just colouring in the face. This is the closest thing that I could find to a sort of skin tone, and then I'm just water activating that using this water brush, and I think I do use a bit of kitchen roll and just sort of blot some of that colour off where it went on too heavily. Yeah, you notice there. So I'm going to start building up the layers really on this. So I'm going in with a darker colour and just adding some shadow just to give the face a more 3D look to it. And it is important to dry each time before you go in with the next layer. So these are some Faber-Castell watercolour pencils, and I am just gradually adding more and more layers to the face. So adding a little bit of colour onto the cheeks, on the lips, and just building up those shadow areas just to help it feel a bit more 3D. And then I used the scribble sticks again and scribbled this lovely purple colour onto the hair, water activated it. You can see it kind of comes alive once it gets water activated, it becomes very bright. And then while that was wet, I just went in and scribbled again with a pinky colour, just to add a different sort of element to the colour on the hair too. Then just to draw in the whites of the eyes, it can often make the face come alive. So just doing that now and adding a little catch light in the eyes as well. And then just adding some highlights to the face. I mean, you could just as easily do this with paint or with a Posca pen, and you just smudge it while it's wet in the places where you want it to not look quite so, I don't know, liney. I can't think of a better word than that really. And then I'm just using this Stabilo All, and I'm just darkening up some of those lines and just making the hair look a bit more, a bit less perfect. And then this is the quote that was on that collage paper too. So then I'm using my Posca pen, I'm just going in and adding a bit more mark making onto the page just to make these collage elements sort of sit a bit happier on the page, so they don't just look like they've been plonked there. That is kind of what I use my mark making for, just to ground things onto the page and make them feel like they belong. And then I'm adding my words around the face, which is definitely the focal point of the page. And then again, just bringing out my Signo Uniball in white and just adding some highlights onto that drawing. And there we go, really easy. Using a focal point from a collage paper, it gives a really quick and easy way to create a fun journal page. So I hope you've enjoyed this project, and I will see you again very soon. Thanks for watching.